okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
What's going on?
Why don't you guys just take the till? What about the vault?
What about the vault?
Holy shit.
Hey, come back here! Where are you going?
The movie kicks off in Japan, where Yakuza boss Oyabun is furious after his crew botches a mission. He gives them a shot at redemption, a job in the United States. But first, each man has to chop off a finger as punishment. Joe goes first, Tom follows without hesitation, and when the last man can't bring himself to do it, Oyabun simply kills him. 3 weeks later, in a town called Normal, Minnesota, interim sheriff Ulysses wakes up alone in his motel room and records yet another voicemail for his estranged wife, Penny, even though she never picks up. Outside, his deputy Mike is already waiting to drive him through town. Ulysses makes a career out of filling in wherever a sheriff position goes vacant, and his personal code is ironclad. Leave every town exactly the way he found it. But something about Normal already feels off. During their drive, Mike chatters about Ernie's legendary meatloaf, and proudly demonstrates how loud his jacket is, explaining he bought it to match the chopper he's been dreaming of owning. Ulysses, meanwhile, notices the town looks surprisingly well-funded for its size and asks how a place this small managed to raise $16.8 million for a new town hall. Mike just says the community pulled together. At the station, a man is already arguing with receptionist Sally about a neighbor who keeps parking a tow truck in his spot. Ulysses steps in calmly, introduces himself as sheriff, and Sally clarifies he's only filling in after Sheriff Gunderson died the week before. Deputy Blaine strolls in with donuts and makes a crack about Ulysses just keeping the badge warm for him. Later, digging through Gunderson's files, Ulysses sees the death was recorded as a heart attack. He also turns up a gun with the words "From Dad" engraved on it. He removes the bullet and drops it into evidence. Not long after, Sally finds him in the armory, where he's caught off guard by the scale of the arsenal, advanced weapons, and even C4. Sally says Gunderson applied for every anti-terrorism grant available after 9/11. Ulysses tells her to keep the room locked. Over the following days, he handles the usual small-town headaches at his own unhurried pace. He stops by Ernie's place, gets a warm welcome, and notices guns mounted all over the walls. Ernie says they belong to his grandfather and insists Ulysses try the pie before leaving. On TV, a reporter warns about a massive winter storm barreling toward Minnesota. The next morning, Ulysses jolts awake from a nightmare. Later, while he and Mike are on patrol, Sally radios in a fight at the hardware store. Owner Maynard is arguing with a longtime customer named Clayton, who keeps pointing out that everything's cheaper on Amazon. Ulysses spots a cabinet covered in heavy locks, and Maynard casually says it holds stump remover. Before Ulysses can press him, an elderly woman named Mary yanks him into her yarn shop to complain that she ordered pink yarn and received moth instead. At Gunderson's memorial, Mayor Kipner delivers a eulogy. Ulysses gets talking with a man named Walter, who describes Gunderson as someone who loved fishing and drinking, and died clutching a fishing rod out on an auger. Kipner drifts over and asks how Ulysses is settling in, then floats the idea of making the position permanent. Ulysses says he'll think about it. On the way out, he notices a young woman arguing with Blaine outside. Mike tells him that's Alex, Gunderson's daughter. That night, after dinner at Ernie's, bartender Moira invites Ulysses to sit with her. He brings up Gunderson, and Moira says it was sad, though he died doing the two things he loved most. Ulysses ends up opening up about his own past. He was once sheriff in a peaceful county, married to his high school sweetheart, when a young girl came to him claiming her father was abusing her. Because he personally knew the man, he didn't believe her. Days later, he was called to gunfire at their home and found that the girl had killed her father. She turned the gun on Ulysses and blamed him for ignoring her. And when they both fired, he got there first. Something in him broke after that. He became hard to live with, and his marriage slowly fell apart. He still dials Penny's number, but she never answers. The next morning, Ulysses helps a visitor named Lori after her snack gets stuck in the vending machine. That night, he finds Alex parked out on a side road in a van. He checks whether she's been drinking and climbs in beside her. He mentions seeing her photos around Gunderson's office and tells her she has her father's eyes. When he asks about the argument with Blaine, Alex explains that before Kipner took control, the town still had a moral compass. She tried to get her father to see it, but he was caught between loyalty to her and loyalty to the town, and when she pushed him to choose, it got him killed. Ulysses gently tells her he knows where things need to start, and asks her to hand over the gun. With nowhere to stay, she ends up back at the station, sleeping safely in a cell, with breakfast waiting beside her in the morning. Later, while Mike runs through parade logistics, the bank alarm suddenly blares, and the whole station goes rigid with tension, a reaction Ulysses can't make sense of. Over at the local bank, Lori and her boyfriend Keith are robbing the place at gunpoint. Lori orders the teller to fill a bag, but there's only $2,000 in the drawer, because almost nobody uses cash anymore. Keith hauls the manager, Terry, toward the vault, while Lori frets about police arriving too soon. Then a customer collapses with a heart attack. Keith panics, but Lori grabs the man's pills and gets one into him. When he still isn't breathing, she orders Keith to start chest compressions. One of the guards, Joe, the Yakuza member from the opening, quietly gets word to Oyabun. Then Joe stabs Keith. Lori fires back, grazing Keith's neck by accident before wounding Joe. Joe's gun discharges and kills the other guard posted outside. Blaine tells Ulysses to stand aside and let him and Mike handle it, but Ulysses spots Lori's dog sitting in a parked car and realizes she's connected to what's happening inside. He decides he's going in, warning that if this gets handled wrong, it could turn into a massacre. Blaine calls Mayor Kipner, who coldly orders him to take Ulysses out. As Ulysses walks toward the bank, Blaine shoots him. The bullet catches his vest. Lori, stunned, demands to know why they're shooting at their own sheriff. Ulysses returns fire and shouts for everyone inside to get down. He asks Lori and Keith whether they're tangled up in something bigger, and Lori flatly denies it. Terry then snaps at them both, saying none of this would have happened if they'd just grabbed the cash instead of demanding the vault. Ulysses forces Terry to open it anyway, and inside they find towering stacks of cash and gold bars. Terry bolts, then lunges for his own gun, slips, and accidentally shoots himself. Mike reaches the back entrance, and Ulysses identifies him purely by the sound of his jacket. Then the phone rings. Ulysses picks up, and Mayor Kipner lays out the whole truth. He admits he ordered Blaine to kill him, then explains this goes far beyond the police. The entire town is in on it. Years ago, Normal was being slowly gutted by banks and corporations. The Yakuza made them an offer. They needed a quiet location to launder illegal profits from America, and Normal would take a cut for its silence. The town agreed, and that's been the engine behind its prosperity ever since. Kipner acknowledges that not everyone was on board, and says he handled those people. Ulysses figures out what that means for him. He can't walk away from this alive. Kipner says he actually can, on one condition: kill Lori and Keith and become part of the cover-up. Ulysses hangs up. The power dies as the storm rolls in. In the chaos, Ulysses fires outside and inadvertently hits Mayor Kipner, blowing him apart. Ulysses is visibly shaken. That wasn't his target. The officers freeze. He uses the moment to open fire on them, buying Lori and Keith enough time to escape with him. Back at the Yakuza end of things, Joe can't reach Oyabun through the outage, so the boss orders his jet readied. Ulysses tells Lori and Keith to get inside somewhere while he holds the line. They duck into Mary's yarn shop, where Lori mutters that this town is anything but normal. Ulysses checks Keith's wound and asks Mary for a first aid kit and a CB radio, at which point Mary attacks them without warning. He tries to talk her down while Lori opens fire. After Lori empties her gun, Ulysses helps her shove a heavy shelf onto Mary, finishing her off. Meanwhile, the remaining officers regroup inside an ice cream shop. Mike explains that the robbers have linked up with the sheriff after discovering Yakuza money and gold in the vault, then peels back a hidden panel behind the icebox to reveal a stash of weapons and ammunition. Back with Ulysses, Lori admits she and Keith only wanted enough money to start fresh together. Nobody planned on going to war with an entire town. Ulysses decides their only move is the police station, where there's a snowplow Keith says he can drive. But when gunfire breaks out, Ulysses crashes through the hardware store window and tells the other two to keep moving while he catches up. Inside, Maynard attacks him. Ulysses dodges a flurry of strikes before Maynard gets the upper hand. Pinned down, Ulysses asks what is wrong with everyone in this town. Maynard says they researched him specifically and chose him because his record showed he didn't care enough to interfere. Ulysses manages to kill him, then cracks open the locked cabinet. Dynamite and road flares inside. Outside, Lori and Keith are still being hunted. Keith quietly reveals he swiped a gold bar from the vault and uses it to knock one attacker flat. He grabs a dropped gun and tries to fire. It's empty. As Blaine and the others close in, Ulysses flings dynamite toward them, triggering massive explosions. Mike snatches one and tries to smother it, but it detonates and sends him flying. At the station, Sally spots Lori and Keith and comes out leveling a shotgun. Ulysses arrives just in time to stop her. During the scuffle, a car drops onto Sally and kills her. Ulysses rolls up the garage door and tells Keith and Lori to get to a hospital. He's staying. He's done running from everything in his life. He tells them about the gold bar Keith lifted and says they should use it to build the second chance they were after. They grab their dog and drive out of Normal. The remaining townspeople fan out searching, but Dr. Walter tells them they're wasting their time. Ulysses isn't the type to run. Back at the station, Ulysses loads up. Just as he moves toward the entrance, Moira shoots him in the vest. Barely able to breathe, he jokes about whether she has a drink on her, then asks if she sold her soul along with everyone else. Moira says she did what survival required, and points out that Ulysses sold his too. That stops him. He admits the real truth. He was the one who fired that night, not the girl. He confesses that after everything that happened, he stopped making real choices and just drifted, dodging responsibility at every turn. Then he asks the question that's been nagging at him. What actually happened to Gunderson? Moira admits she killed him because he wanted out of the arrangement and missed his daughter. Before she can finish what she started with Ulysses, Alex steps out and shoots Moira, avenging her father. Ulysses pulls together a plan and makes Alex his deputy. He gets on the radio to Blaine and says Alex is inside the bank vault right now planting explosives. He makes it plain. If anything happens to him, the bank goes up and the Yakuza will come after the whole town for losing their money. Instead of burning everything down, he offers a deal. The town scrubs every trace of the incident, makes it look accidental, and keeps Oyabun from learning what really went wrong. Joe asks why they shouldn't just kill Ulysses and be done with it. Ulysses calmly points out that from Oyabun's perspective, the only thing that matters is that Joe failed. He also apologizes for the mayor, then adds that Kipner was a real piece of work anyway. Grudgingly, Joe and the others agree. The townspeople get to work collecting body parts, scrubbing blood, and putting Normal back together. Blaine quietly admits he had no idea Gunderson had been murdered. Then the Yakuza jet lands. Blaine greets Oyabun in Japanese and explains the storm knocked out the power grid and cell towers. He points to Ulysses and introduces him as the new sheriff, a man who knows nothing about any arrangement, then introduces Oyabun to Ulysses as a pastor from a nearby parish who needs to review some important documents stored in the vault. They walk him over, and Oyabun is visibly relieved to find his money and gold untouched. Over at Ernie's, Oyabun takes a bite of the meatloaf and calls it divine. Ulysses is surprised to hear such fluent English, and Oyabun explains he picked it up from watching Friends. Blaine raises a toast, but when Ernie pops the cork on a bottle of wine, it ricochets off one of the mounted wall guns and fires it, killing Oyabun instantly. Everything erupts. The Yakuza open fire and a brutal shootout breaks out between them and the townspeople. Ulysses grapples with Joe, fighting to wrestle the gun free. Outside, Alex takes down Yakuza gunmen one by one. After a violent struggle, Ulysses finally kills Joe. When the last shot echoes out, nearly everyone is dead. Only Ulysses, Blaine, and Alex are left standing. Sometime later, Ulysses is in Texas, filling in for a sheriff on maternity leave, calling Penny from his motel room with a new deputy at his side. He starts leaving another voicemail, and this time, before he finishes, Penny finally picks up. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy about hitting the like button, and if you disliked it, go ahead and hit dislike twice, just to be sure. It'd be worth watching the whole movie yourself. Thanks so much for watching.